He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. The same floor he'd seen every morning for the last 5 years. Nothing had changed. Not the peeling paint on the walls, not the unpaid bills on the table. Not the weight of the dreams he once had. Dreams now buried under a mountain of excuses. He whispered to himself, "I can't do this anymore." And those words, "I can't," had become his daily anthem. He said them when he woke up. He said them when he looked at job listings. He said them when he saw someone else succeed. They had become a prison, a self-built cage made of doubt, fear, and disappointment. But on this particular morning, something felt different. He looked at himself in the mirror, eyes tired, spirit heavy, and asked, "When did I stop believing in me?" He remembered the younger version of himself. The boy who once said, "I will be great someday." The dreamer who believed anything was possible. The fighter who didn't know how to quit. What happened to him? Where did he go? He looked deeper into the mirror and realized he hadn't disappeared. He'd just been buried under the weight of "I can't." That morning, he made a decision. A quiet one. A simple one. But a decision that would change everything. He said it softly at first, barely a whisper. "I will. I will try again. I will fight for my life. I will find a way." He didn't know how. He didn't know when. But for the first time in years, he spoke life instead of defeat. That same day, he pulled out a notebook and wrote 3 words at the top of the page. "I will rise." He didn't have a plan yet. He didn't have money, connections, or confidence, but he had a decision, and that was enough to start. He went for a run, his first in months. Every step burned, every breath hurt, and halfway through, that old voice came back. "You can't do this." But he pushed back harder. He said it again, this time louder. "I will." And with every step, those 2 words grew stronger. "I will keep running. I will not stop. I will not be the same person tomorrow that I was yesterday." He didn't realize it yet, but in that moment, he wasn't just running against exhaustion. He was running against every "I can't" he had ever believed. Days turned into weeks. He started waking up earlier. He applied for jobs again. He studied new skills online. He failed, a lot. But each time, instead of saying "I can't," he reminded himself, "I will." And slowly, the world around him began to shift. People noticed something different in his eyes. Not arrogance, not pride, but determination, the kind that can't be faked. He remembered all the times he had said, "I can't." "I can't get this job. I can't start over. I can't make it." Each "I can't" had been a brick, and he had been building his own wall of failure, one word at a time. But with every "I will," he started tearing that wall down. Because "I will" isn't just a phrase, it's a mindset. It's the refusal to surrender, no matter how broken, tired, or uncertain you feel. Then one day, the opportunity he'd been waiting for appeared, a job opening. One that scared him, one that seemed too big for him. The old him would have said, "I can't," but the new him said, "I will apply anyway." He didn't feel ready, but "I will" doesn't wait for perfect conditions. "I will" acts, even when the odds say otherwise. He wrote his application. He stumbled through the interview. He made mistakes, but he showed up. And a week later, he got the call. He got the job. He hung up the phone and sat in silence. He didn't cry because of the job itself. He cried because he realized he hadn't just changed his situation. He had changed himself. He had finally proven to the one person he needed to, himself, that the power of "I will" can rebuild a broken life. From that day on, he lived differently. He started saying "I will" to everything that scared him. "I will forgive. I will heal. I will move forward. I will create something that matters. And with each, I will. His world expanded. New opportunities, new people, new strength. Because the universe responds to the words you speak. When you say, I can't, it stops trying to help you. When you say, I will, it moves mountains in your favor. Years later, people would ask him, how did you turn your life around? And he would smile and say, it started the day I stopped saying I can't. Because the truth is, you can't control everything. You can't erase your past. You can't stop the storms from coming. But you can control one thing. What you say to yourself when the world tells you to quit. And if you can master that, you can master anything. Maybe you've been like him. Maybe you've been repeating I can't for so long that you've forgotten what I will even feels like. Maybe you've failed more times than you can count. Maybe you've been rejected, ignored, broken, and left behind. But let me remind you, you are not your failures. You are not your mistakes. You are what you decide to become after them. I can't gives up before the fight begins. I will stands tall, even with shaking hands. I can't sees walls. I will sees doors. I can't is fear in disguise. I will is courage in motion. Every great story, every comeback, every victory began with someone who chose I will. When you change your words, you change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, you change your actions. And when you change your actions, you change your life. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens one declaration at a time. You may not see the results today. You may still be tired, broke, or uncertain. But if you wake up every morning and say, I will keep going, eventually, the world will move out of your way. Because life always bends for those who refuse to break. So tonight, when you lie in bed, and that voice in your head starts whispering, you can't. Remember his story. Remember that he was just like you. Scared, lost, tired. But he changed 2 words, and it changed everything. I can't builds walls. I will builds wings.